Hey everyone, and welcome back to Apisibey, your go-to channel for all things related to immigration, studying abroad, and life in Canada. I'm your host, and today we are diving deep into the brand new rules that Canada has rolled out for international students in 2024. These changes are big. They are going to affect everything from study permits to work permits and even financial requirements you need to meet. So in this video, we will break it down just to go over some of a few things that have at least changed in 2024. One, there's new study permit caps for 2024 and 2025. There's the postgraduate work permits, that's the PGWP updates, changes to spousal open work permits, increased financial requirements for international students. Then also look at some impact on Canadian institutions and international students. Then the province reaction to some of these new rules, and also how you can be best prepared for these changes. Now let's dive into the details and help you navigate this new landscape. So the first big change is the introduction of study permit caps. Canada is implementing a 2-year limit on study permits to reduce the number of international students entering the country. In 2024, the number of study permits issued would drop by 35%. By 2025, the cap would drop further by 10%, limiting the number to around 437,000 permits that will be issued. So basically, they are going to cut down the number of study permits they are going to issue the next couple of years. So why is Canada doing this? Canada is experiencing a lot of pressure on its housing infrastructure and even resources. This cap is a government's way of ensuring sustainable growth, but it also means there will be fierce competition for study permits. So what does this mean for you? If you are planning to study in Canada, you need to apply earlier than ever and ensure your application stands out. So with this new cap, most provinces are going to know how many people they are going to be bringing. So it wouldn't make sense to sit down and wait till later part of the year to possibly now be applying for a study permit. If you know you are going to come in, the earlier you submit your study permit application and get it approved, the better it's going to be for you. Because if you are not careful and they hit their cap, yours might end up getting denied. Secondly, we've seen changes to the post-graduation work permit. Another major change that will be starting November 1st, 2024 is the post-graduation work permit. That's the PGWP program. If you graduate from a public college, you will only qualify for a PGWP if your field of study aligns with occupations facing labor shortage in Canada. But don't worry. Graduates with bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees will still be eligible for a PGWP of up to 3 years, regardless of their field of study. So, as a student, what does this mean for you? Say you graduated with a degree in an area like nursing or technology, where Canada is actively seeking workers, you have a better chance of securing a PGWP. But if your program doesn't align with labor market needs, you may want to reconsider your field of study. My advice would be start thinking strategically. Look at labor market trends in Canada and choose programs that not only interest you but also give you the best chance of staying in the country post graduation. Gone are the days where you apply and say, I just need to get admitted for a program in Canada and I know I'm going to get postgraduate work permits. Those times have passed now. Now you are going to need to think strategically and make sure that at least your interest is aligned with Canada's needs so that you have the chance of staying in Canada postgraduate so that you can work and continue living here and possibly reach your goal of maybe permanent residency or citizenship. Number 3 is changes to the spousal open work permit. So that's the SOWP. If you are coming to Canada as an international student, your spouse might be planning to join you and work here too. However, under the new rules, spouses of international students enrolled in master's program will only qualify for work permit if the program lasts at least 16 months. So let's say your spouse is studying for masters in engineering for 18 months. They would qualify for spousal open work permit. But if the program is shorter, like a 12-month program, they might not be eligible. This could affect your financial planning and overall family strategy. So now you need to be strategic in your choice of program that you choose. You need to choose programs that at least are going to be aligned with your goals and possibly help you secure that PGWP. So if your program is less than 16 months, it might be time to reconsider and see whether you can secure an 18-month program or even a 2-year program, so that if your dream is to come along with your spouse and family, that can be achieved. Number four, we've seen increase in financial requirements for international students. Since the beginning of 2024, that's January, students have been required to at least meet stricter financial requirements. One of the biggest changes is the increase in at least what we call the GI, that's the Guarantee Investment Certificate, or the amount of money that the student will need to prove to show that they can afford to take care of themselves in Canada. This has doubled from 10,000 to 20,635. So in addition to your 1 year tuition fee that you need to show, now you need to show an additional 20,635 to show that you can afford to take care of yourself whilst you are in Canada without recourse to any public funds. This reflects the rising cost of living in Canada, especially in cities like Toronto and Vancouver. So as a student, why is this significant for you? For students coming from low-income countries, these financial requirements might be a significant hurdle. It means you will need to plan your finances more carefully and show proof of funds that you can support yourself during your stay in Canada. So now you need to prove that you can afford and have, which will mean that you need to have genuine reasons of coming to Canada to study. Because if you are going to make this financial commitment, then you really need to have interest in studying in Canada. So how does this impact Canadian institutions and international students? Canadian universities and colleges have relied heavily on the tuition fees paid by international students. And with fewer students allowed into the country due to the study permit gaps, some schools may face financial strain. We've had institutions like Toronto Metropolitan University who have even expressed concerns about possible program closures or even layoffs because they can't afford to at least fund most of these programs that they've been running with the fewer number of students that are going to come in. So with the changes that are happening are not just going to affect just students, they are going to affect some of these institutions that are already running in the country. And as a student, how does this even affect you? We are going to have fewer students, which means smaller class sizes, which could actually benefit your educational experience. But it also means that schools may raise tuition fees for international students to compensate for the financial hit, because with most of these schools, they have a break-even point. And to reach that, if they are not going to get more students coming in, paying the amount of tuition fee, that will mean that the fewer amount of students that are coming in will need to pay a higher tuition fee, because now there is competition for those slots to be able to study in the country. So one thing that most students have to be aware of is it's possible that the coming months we are going to see a hike in tuition fee for most of these institutions, so at least to make up for the money that they've lost with the cuts in students that are coming in. And also with some of these changes, we've seen some of the provinces react. Some provinces like Ontario and British Columbia are already taking steps to align with these new rules. Ontario is reviewing programs that have large number of students, especially international students, to ensure that they meet the quality standards and match the labor market needs. In British Columbia, new post-secondary institutions won't be able to enroll international students at least for the next 2 years. So which means if it's a new institution that's popping up, they won't be allowed to admit any new students at least for the next 2 years. So not only is it affecting the schools and the students, also the provinces are also reacting to make sure that these changes that are coming in are being implemented. So as a student, what can you do? If you are planning to study in provinces like Ontario or BC, I would say stay updated on the changing rules and check if your institution is affected by these new policies. That's why I always say it's advisable that you are doing your research. Don't rely on agents and say that my agent is doing all the work. Make sure you are checking the website of the institution, reach out to them, and make sure you are getting informed on all the new changes and how it's affecting them, because you are making a financial commitment and they have people who are readily available to respond to your queries. This could also influence your decision on where to apply, because if you realize that one province is not working for you because of how they are applying the rules, it might be time to look at other options so that you can achieve your goal of possibly studying in Canada. So with all these changes, how can you navigate these changes to ensure a smooth transition into studying in Canada? My advice would be apply early. With the study caps, competition is going to be fierce for the slots, so don't wait until the last minute to apply. If you make a decision on the institution that you want to study in and the program that you want to study, as early as possible, make sure you put in your application, because most of these institutions might be doing assessing applications as they come in. And if you are lucky enough and you get admitted, you can quickly submit your application, and if it's approved, you will be able to achieve your dream instead of waiting till last minute only to find out that the school has hit its cap for that particular program. So you might have to now wait for the following year. And also, besides that, the earlier you can come in, the better, because with every new day, there are new rules that are coming in. But the good side is they make sure that people who are already in the system or people who have already submitted their application are not affected. Secondly, make sure you meet the new financial requirements. My advice is make sure you have funds needed to meet the new financial requirements. Ensure that you can support yourself during this day. So if you are putting your application, make sure you are using the updated financial requirement. You are not putting in a 10K. You are making sure you have enough funds to cover your first year tuition fee and that 20,635 that they require for you to show that you can afford to take care of yourself in Canada. And thirdly, I always say pick your program wisely. Choose programs that align with Canadians' labor market needs to improve your chances of qualifying for PGWP and staying in Canada long term. Gone are the days where you just pick and choose any program with any institution with the hope that you'll be getting PGWP. Now those times have passed. Make sure you are choosing the right programs with the right institution so that you can avoid any surprises. And lastly, I'll say plan for your family. If you are bringing your family members, especially a spouse who intends to work, make sure the eligibility aligns with the new rules. Make sure that you understand the new policy if you have plans of bringing your spouse, because this was a loophole that a lot of people were able to use in the past, where you come in, you get a program, you come in with your spouse because you know when you come in, your spouse can afford to work, and he or she will now work to take care of the family whilst you are in school. Now that's not possible. If you are coming with your spouse might not be eligible for at least the spousal work permit if you are not eligible based on the program that you are studying in, which will mean that the only way you can bring your spouse in might be through a visitor visa, which will still limit your spouse's ability to work if that's your plan. So Canada's new rules for international students in 2024 are definitely going to shake things up, from tighter financial requirements to changes in post-graduation work permits. It's more important than ever to be prepared and strategic when planning your studies in Canada. If you want a more personalized advice on how these changes could affect you and your plans, feel free to book a one-on-one session with me using the link in the description area. And a disclaimer here, no, I'm not an immigration consultant, neither am I an immigration lawyer, but any conversations that we'll be having will be based on my experience and my knowledge on what I know. We can talk about your study plans, immigration pathways, or any other questions that you have.